the spot. Unless you want to share, feel free to do that. I am going to ask you though, as we go through these things, to really engage with it. And when I have the questions, to get your notebook and pen and write it down. If you don't have that, grab something that you can write with. So you're thinking into this. I know a lot of times people think, oh, you know what, I'll go back and answer those questions later, but later doesn't usually happen. So we're talking about high performance today. Let's make sure that you're engaging with that and answering those questions as we go. Some of them you might need to think on, and that's okay, but at least you'll have them. Also know, if you don't get something, we'll send you the slides after. And I think Bailey's recording this also, so you can always go back to the recording. So let's get started. Today in our hour, we are going to go over, oops, I'm having a little trouble here. Here we go. First of all, why does high performance habits, why do they matter? A definition of that. We're going to look back. We're going to look back on things to actually move forward. We're going to go over the high performance habits, and then I'm going to ask you what you're going to apply, so be thinking about that. We know information doesn't change us. It's really the application of that material. So be thinking of that as we go. I want to ask you right now, just in the chat box, and Bailey, maybe you can help me to read this. Type in what comes to mind when you hear the word high performance habits. Just take a second. What comes to mind when you hear the word high performance habits? And for some reason, I can't see that, but I know you'll keep me filled in, Bailey.
Sure.
And let me know, as always, too, if you have questions as we go, and fine to take those, throughout our talk. So just feel free to engage. Do we have some comments in there?
Yeah, we do. Productivity, habits that support results, productive and engaged, routine, organization, execution, organization, engaged.
Awesome. I love it. Those are a lot of things that we're going to talk about on concepts today. And I want to also, encourage us when it comes to this, that I want us to encourage or expand our thinking on this. It's not really about doing more or being superhuman. It's really about us focusing in on the right things, setting our priorities. And I like to say, we're getting really focused and clear on things and setting those priorities so we can create that life and that business that we love. So the definition, high performance, better, faster, or more efficient than others. Habits, these are a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that's hard to give up. So I love this quote, when you wake up, are you ready to meet the day, or has the day already beaten you? Really, our perspective on this is going to have the whole trajectory of our day, our thoughts, and our life. So as we go through today, I want to remember it's not about guilt or shame or having to do one more thing. This isn't like, oh, geez, 5 more things I need to do. It shouldn't be like that. This material should really get you excited. And it's really about starting to embrace practices that work for you and that make you come alive. You get to create your day. You get to create this year ahead. So what do you want to create? High performance. I think sometimes people don't think about this, but it also includes rest and rejuvenation. So as we focus in on things today, it's really about being intentional about what we want to create. So my first question to you, if you can just write that down, if anyone wants to share in the chat, Bailey can read those, but really for yourself, can you just write in your notebook on your paper, what would you like to create in 2021? And sometimes if this is new for people to even think about that, you might be like, well, I don't even know. I would encourage you just to start somewhere, even just with one domain of life. Maybe it's your health, maybe it's something in your business. What is something that you would like to create this year? We can't reach that goal or target if we don't know what it is. So we have to kind of first put that into words or to visualize it. For some people, it might be a visual or a picture or a word. Others will be very clear. I want to accomplish this money goal this year. I want these are my health goals. Whatever that is you're looking to create, make some notes and you can always go back. So as we go through this, when you think about those habits that you want to adopt, maybe some you're already even doing in your life, and this is just kind of a reboot for you. It's really about putting those things into practice and creating those things that are going to energize you. And one of the little things I like to always ask or have as a marker as we go along in this, before you're doing something, before you're, how you're spending your time, you ask, is this taking me closer to what I want to create this year or farther away? What are some examples? Well, if I say, my health goal is to get healthier, and then I have a bowl of ice cream every night after dinner, I might say, okay, it's okay. I'm going to have this on Saturday, but is this really helping me meet my health goals if I eat the ice cream? So, just something to think about how we're spending our time. If I have certain goals that I want to accomplish, and I know I only have a few hours each day, is how I'm spending my time taking me closer to that goal that I want to um, accomplish or farther away.
Nikki, we have one comment from Marcia, and
Yeah,
she says to get more, work done more productively so I can have more free time to spend outdoors.
I love that. I love that. And that's, I think, so important, when you know that why, then you can start to say no. I always like, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but you could say no to the good to save room for the great. So thank you for sharing. So right now, another little thing to put in your notebook. This is just some reflection time. I always think we can't move forward into the new year without kind of assessing, you know, some information from the past year. I think it's not wise if we never look at what went well, what didn't go so well. Granted, this has been a crazy year and there are some things that are beyond our control, but it's important. Reflection is a very valuable practice for all high performers. I think of our mentor, John Maxwell, every year at Christmas time, he looks at his calendar and he assesses, what is going well? Where did I spend my time and what was a good use of time or not a good use of my time? I'm going to read the questions and I'll get back to something he actually did from reflecting. So we're taking a look back so we can move forward. You're going to be able to move forward a lot more powerfully if you take that look back. So as you look, what went well? What went well for you this year? I'm a big one to celebrate your wins. So write those things that, man, this is going well, or habits that you're already doing that you want to continue. And then what didn't go so well, or what's something that needs to change? And then that last question is, what is one thing now that you can do to move forward and that you can do differently to see different results this next year? I know that you might have to think about some of those things. That's fine. You can write the question down. I'm going to finish that little story I was telling you about reflection and John Maxwell. He actually, from one of the years of reflecting on his calendar, noticed he was spending 30 to 45 days in airports and traveling. So one of his decisions from this reflection process was, you know what? I'm going to move my headquarters. He moved his headquarters from California to Atlanta because he realized Atlanta was a major hub where you could be, to most places where you wanted to be to do business and back in the same day. So he didn't have to be away from his family. Now, granted, we might not have, decisions to move major corporations, and maybe we do, but what are those other decisions that reflecting will help us to do? So this reflection for this kind of just helping us to know what we want to focus on in the year ahead. So now we're into the habits. Our very first one, this one is one I'm so passionate about, our mindset. Our mindset matters. It's something that we really have to monitor daily because as humans, we do have a negativity bias. We need to keep this in check. So one of the things I share with clients sometimes who struggle in this area is take a little daily assessment. When you get up, rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 would be, I'm feeling poor, my mindset is negative, to 10, like, I am awesome, Rev, the day is amazing. Look at what that is. If you're 5 or less, I usually say, before you do anything else, what do you need to do to fill your cup? How are you going to refuel? Do you need to do some positive self-talk? Do you need to read something that's positive, read scripture, whatever that is for you? Maybe you have to go take a walk or just have some quiet time, but that should be a check right away in the morning. If this is a struggle for you, like, wait, I need to fill myself. Because really, if we don't fill our cups first, we don't have things to give to others. So I want to encourage us, though, this is more than just positive talk. it's really starting to eradicate the negative. And I don't think we even realize how much negative are in our day, from the time we get up, news and stories and information and things coming in, and then just things that we might listen to or things that come at us in the workplace. These are things that we have to counter. So just really getting a grip on how we're going to do that. We kind of have a little process that we go through. If somebody really struggles in there, reach out to me and email me. I'd be happy to share that with you, kind of how you can reframe thoughts. That's for another talk though. But the other thing, keeping in check with your mindset, is really having that abundant mindset. And once again, this isn't something that always comes easy to people, but working on it, getting to those issues, um, do you have a fear of failure or fear of rejection? This is actually something we're working on with one group, and we're working with sales on them. And this is the very first place we started, because if our mindset isn't right, if we have a fear of failure, if we have a fear of rejection, those things are going to come out. And boy, does it ever come out, when you go to do sales and those things. So really start to be aware of your mindset, and also do the hard work. If there's things that affect you from your childhood, or things that were told you, sometimes lies like, oh, you'll never be able to do that. Or maybe a teacher said something, maybe your parents said something, or a sibling. Those are things to work through, and really refresh your mind. Start to write positive things. One of the things we had with this group we're working with, we had them write just really positive things about themselves, and then positive things like, hey, the day is going to go well. I am open to sales, whatever. We had them frame it in their own verbiage, but to speak those positive things before you get on a sales call, before you go into a meeting, it can make all the difference just in how those outcomes. And then finally, high performers and those high performance habits, it's really adapting a giving mindset, and that doesn't always come naturally to some. Once again, it's not about guilt or shame. Where are you at? If that's hard for you, sometimes that's something to explore. But our whole goal is that we get so aligned with our priorities and our values that that's just something that comes naturally, that we are willing to give, because we know what we're able to give because our priorities are lining up. The next high performance habit that people do, focus on clarity. And clarity really in understanding your purpose and your why. It can change from season to season. If you've never read the book by Simon Sinek, Start with Why, it's a great book if you just want to get more clear. We have different seasons. What is that season for you? If you know your why and you know your purpose, when things get tough, you're going to be able to persevere and to keep going. Our why needs to be strong, and this is usually what helps fuel us. I'm not saying you have to have a mission and a vision per se, but it is helpful. What do you want to do? One of the things we want to do, impact over 1 million lives. So they go on to impact the world for good in different ways. So what is that for you? Also, this clarity piece, high performers usually are aware of their values. And I've had clients, this is something I do with almost all my clients. We'll go through their value cards. It's like 86 cards, sit down and you narrow it down. And sometimes I've gotten looks like, wait, we're going to do cards, but here's what this does. When you get really clear on your values, now you can be really clear on your priorities. You can be really clear on where you want to spend your time and give. And this goes back to that abundant mindset. If I know this aligns with my values and this is something that fuels me, I can give freely and I don't have to feel resentful or, like, oh, this is taking more of my time that I don't have. No, I've already determined that this is something important to me, or it's important to our family, and this is where I'm going to spend my time, money, whatever that is. One quick story on getting clear on your values. I had a client who was in a job and had been there for years, not so happy. She did the value cards, and I don't remember the third one. It was like joy, family, and I forget the third, but anyways, she did this, and she came up with the epiphany and said, wow, I realize the job I'm in brings me none of these things that align with what really fuels me. So she left that job and she was able to go on to get her dream job. So what is that for you? Figuring out those 3 to 5 core things that are really who you are can be so important to help you become clear with your time, your goals, your money, what you want to accomplish. And then the other thing with clarity is your legacy. I know we don't always think about this, but what do you want to create? Another exercise we do, it's I call it the rocking chair. Y- This is something easy. Think about this. You're 90 years old, you're sitting on the porch in your rocking chair. What is really important that happened in your life? What do you want others to say about you? You know, what do you want? There's other questions, but these are kind of the premise of it. What do you need to let go of right now? You know, it's very interesting once again as we look forward. If we're 90, are all the things that we're really stressing about now, is this really important? So it can put in perspective. You know, we look back, we look forward, and then we create that plan and get really clear on what we want. I like this on the bottom, clarity and focus. That gives us that ability to prioritize what is important. And like you'll hear me say this a lot of the times, we're going to let go of the good to save room for the great. You know, there's so many things that can fill our time, amazing things to do. And you know what? This is something I struggle with, the shiny object syndrome. I'm always like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. I want to do that. I love that. But my husband always helps bring me back to say, Nikki, that's not even like in our, values or whatever in this season. I mean, it's good stuff. But I was like, you're right. So, that focus is so important if we want to accomplish those things that are really meaningful to us. This one, no surprise. I'm sure you've all heard it. Many of you are probably already doing it, but I do think it bears, repeating. What are the healthy, practices that really are fueling our mind and our body? We all we need good sleep. I have to admit, I'm guilty of this one. Sometimes going to the phone if I'm not sleeping and checking Facebook or something. You know what? Not helpful. I know. I'm working to give that one up. But this is really important. Some friends of ours in the medical community try to have your phone off at least an hour before bed. There's something that just physically it gets us ready. Even our eyes. Apparently, there's light. If you don't wear the little amber glasses, there's light and things that will keep us up longer. So, getting exercise and physical activity, making sure to move every day. Once again, sometimes people say, well, I don't have time. I think we need to challenge, that mindset. We don't have time not to do that because our health is really everything. And so I think you'll notice with some of these, when one of the area lines up and we're doing the high performance habits, if we're getting our daily exercise, guess what? Our mindset is probably going to come in alignment. Other things are going to come in alignment just from doing that one habit. So that's what we really focus on in this whole, material. Focus on one thing, get that habit down, do it well, see the results, then you can add another. It's not about just getting a checklist done. One thing I like to mention, my husband is his other job as a PT, there is a difference between exercise and physical activity. Now, hey, I think if you do either, you get an A. But, if you're doing it for health benefits, just something to know, your exercise, your heart rate then should be at least just an average gauge. I'm sure there's experts who will can and do this, but a real easy gauge, heart rate over 120 for that benefit. And I think it's the heart association. I forget how many minutes a week, but at least like 30 minutes a day, something like that. So just know what your goal is. Letting go of unhealthy habits. What maybe needs to go so you can grow in this season? Is it binge watching TV or food or alcohol? What are the things that are no longer serving you, or helping you to meet where you want to go and where you want to be? The healthy eating. I love this philosophy. My husband, like I said, he's done the physical therapy for many years. He always says, you know what, there's no bad food and you can eat what you want, but just be wise and eat the good things, and eat those other things that aren't so good for us in moderation. So no food is off limits, but think about nourishing our body. How well are we going to feel if we put the good stuff in before we put, other things that aren't um, going to nourish us? And I really like that word, the thought of nourishing, our body for high performance. If we're not putting good things in, we're not going to be able to have that energy and the focus. So, of course, drinking the water, staying hydrated. And one of the things, once again, this goes back kind of to the mindset and to other things, monitoring our energy daily, you know, knowing what fuels us, what sucks the life out of us, and how are you going to fill your cup when you have those life suckers that are happening. So really being aware of that. you need to fill your cup first and then attend to others. And I think sometimes we think that's selfish, but I think of this like on the plane. What do they tell us? First, put on your oxygen mask, first, put on your life vest, then you help others. So really think about filling yourself up so there's more that you can, give when you want to do that. Another high performance habit is high performers are always growing and learning. There's a purpose, and they often have a plan, to those things. I want to share a little bit about the growth mindset versus the fixed mindset. Carol Dweck of Stanford University came up with this, and a growth mindset is focused on all the things that we can learn to do. Growing is a life journey. If I fail, it's okay. I learn from my mistake. A fixed mindset, here's some of the attitudes or things you might see, like, oh, well, I'm good. I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't need to do anything more. I hear sometimes things like this, oh, well, my employer won't pay for that. Those are really fixed mindset. My thought is, if you want to grow and develop, there is always a way that we can find and be creative to get the money, to get the resources, to be creative, to do that, because we're creative beings. So here's the good news. If you find yourself that you are in a fixed mindset, we can change. It just like anything else takes practice. It's going to take reprogramming our mind out of that and really starting to see growth as something that's good, seeing failure not as the end all and things are over, but you know what did I learn from this? So you can overcome that fixed mindset. It's just going to take some work, just like working on our mindset that we talked at the beginning of this. So once again, high performers are going to be investing in their growth, their skill set, and they may even, have a plan with that. In this season, as you think about things, what is something that would really fuel you or help you or advance you in an area or align with your goals that you want to learn? And maybe it has nothing to do even with your workplace. Maybe it's something you want to learn to do better in your family, or you have a goal for travel or whatever that is. Maybe jot that one down. What are you looking this year? I'd love to, in the chat box, if anybody has anything, what would be something that would really inspire you this year to grow and learn about that kind of aligns with all the things that we're talking about? Haley, if there's any comments in there. Do we have any questions so far?
No, not yet.
Okay. The other things.
Okay, we have a few comments coming now. From
Yeah.
Kate Ferguson, I am becoming a firefighter because I wanted to be a more engaged part of my rural community.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
And then from Kathleen McConnell, becoming a yellow belt in Lean Six Sigma. Cool.
Awesome. That's great. Any others in there?
No.
Okay, thanks, ladies, for sharing. I think that's awesome. And both of them have that goal and vision of advancing in some area and for a reason and their why. And that really helps to fuel us in these areas. One of those things, I just think this goes with the learning and development. Leaders are readers and readers are leaders. We've heard this, but I think something that's important here to know is not everybody may enjoy a book. We have different learning styles, but maybe you enjoy a podcast. Maybe you enjoy, Kindle or some other form, whatever that is for you. There aren't rules, but what is that goal that you'd like to do that aligns? Once again, it's not about us being busy or reading books just for book's sake. What aligns with what we want in this season, with where we see ourselves going? It's once again not about acquiring that information, but really, how are we going to apply what we're going to use, and how are we going to use this for good and to create what we want? I just give an example here. Warren Buffett, 80% of his time is spent reading and reflecting. And you can imagine John Maxwell, Simon Sinek, Steve Jobs, all these people, there's all kinds of research out there on the high performers, high achievers, entrepreneurs. they're learners. It fuels them, whether it's a hobby or a focus for a season or advancing in their career, always learning and always growing. I'd like to know, it might be fun just for people in there to spur others on. Is there something that you're really passionate that you're reading in this season that others might benefit from? Feel free to share. I'm reading one right now. We're reading with a group. It's The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy. It's an old book, but some of the concepts in there are things we're talking about, here with mindset and those things, and really getting very clear on ourselves and doing that inner work so that we can be more confident and we can be more fulfilled in what we're doing.
We have one comment, Breen Brown podcast.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I know. Yeah. And
I
from
like
Kate
her.
Ferguson, I absolutely love braiding sweetgrass.
Oh, Brady, that's awesome.
It's a book,
I'd like
she
to.
said.
Oh, okay. What's it called?
Braiding sweetgrass.
Braiding sweetgrass. Okay, I'm writing that down to look. Great, thank
And
you.
Anna Nelson is currently reading The Empowered Mama by Lisa Druxman.
Nice. That's a great variety.
I know for myself too, I'm constantly listening to podcasts of all different kinds.
Yeah, me too. I like that a lot. So, high performance habits, we're engaging in daily habits, routines, and rituals. And so, I would love to hear in the chat, what do you do? Do you have a morning routine, a habit, or a ritual? Once again, this isn't about a have to, but one thing we do know, if we want to be successful in our day, it's probably not going to happen if we're one of those, oh my gosh, I'm late, or I'm rolling over and hitting the snooze and then rushing to work and I didn't have my breakfast. Usually that intentionality in the morning kind of sets the tone for our day. And not to say we don't all have a bad day. I think that would be really silly to think, we all have those days where we're not on our game. But as a whole, how do you set up your day? I know for me, two of the things that I try to do each morning, do some kind of exercise and then do sometime a quiet time or prayer time. If those two things don't happen, they don't tend to get done later in my day. And honestly, that sets my day. I'm very much more focused and I'm energized for my day by getting those, check marks off. So the 30-minute question, I'd say this: when you look at that, one of a great rule in high performance, if you wake up before your alarm, get up. I don't know about you, but a lot of times it's like you have 30 minutes, right? I would like to pose a question: whoever goes back to sleep and has a great, like, that was the best 30 minutes ever. Rarely, maybe somebody's lucky enough to, but what usually happens? We toss, we turn, we maybe reach for the phone. I want to encourage us all, that 30 minutes can be so well spent. Just get up, go grab the coffee. You're going to probably still be a little tired anyways, but you're going to feel better because you're going to get some of those morning things down that are meaningful. Just commit to one thing if you're not used to doing this. One of the things I do, my husband gets out to the gym. We have it outside our house, so really early, like 4:30. And sometimes I'm like, oh man, I could technically go out there at 5. I still don't have to really get up till 6. But here's the thing that he always says, Nikki, just go out for 10 minutes. And this is a little trick that mentally works for me. I'll go out I'll do 10 minutes. And for me, I start by maybe I'm going to do, and I know we'll go over this, why we should do our email or things, but that helps me actually get one of my habits done. So I might do something that I have to do on my phone for 10 minutes. Then I'm usually revved up and I can put that down and I'm going. And here's the thing, 10 minutes turns into a lot longer because you're already out there. You're not going to go back in the house or back after 10 minutes. So whatever those things are that help you get in focus, do that. And then taking time. Part of our rituals and habits should be throughout the day. It shouldn't just be like, oh, I did this, at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I'm done. What are you doing through the day to fuel yourself? If we just go from meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting and there's no breaks, our brain isn't really wired to do that all day. We need breaks. So taking 5 minutes to get outside, to move, maybe just taking 5 minutes and sitting quietly or putting earbuds in, whatever is appropriate for you where you're working. I know a lot of us are working from home now, so it's maybe easier to do, but how are you taking those breaks? I know our mentor, John Maxwell, always says, find something at least 10 or 15 minutes in your day if you're not going to do it after, your different activities, but something that will fuel you. Is it to just sit quietly? He has a thing to uh, listen to music for 15 minutes and that just refuels him. So what is that for you? Schedule that in your day like you would anything else. And one thing with our daily routines and habits, I always encourage clients, it is very funny to me. They'll never miss a doctor's appointment. They'll never miss like a meeting with someone, but they'll be the first to scratch that meeting off with themselves. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Like put that meeting, if you have to call it something else, like whatever appointment, put that down and keep that with yourself like you would any other appointment. It's really funny. People are really quick to blow off their workouts or any of those things that actually bring them life and health. So I want to encourage you to keep those appointments like you would any other appointment that you value.
We have one comment from Marcia, and she says she tries to take a daily break from work to walk the dog.
That's awesome. Anything where you could just get out a little bit and have that time for pausing and reset is great. That's a great one. The next habit of high performers or high performance habit, utilizing productivity principles. And here's the thing that we get into. This isn't about just doing more or being superhuman. It's about us focusing on the right things. Just like I forget, I know that who said this, but you know, getting things done so you can spend more time with family. I think that was Marsha. What can you do and prioritize so then you have more of that freedom you have and you're creating more of that life that you want. So Pareto's principle, 20% of the input's responsible for 80% of the output. What do you need to focus in on? A great book is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. If you haven't done that in a while, we end up doing that with a client, I think about once a year. So valuable just to, we all know these things, but just as a little reboot, that's really, what do we tend to do a lot of the times, unless you're just really focusing this. I know for me, my personality style, I struggle a little night. I like checking off the little things that are fun first. But I'm really in this season working on making myself do that big job that I don't want to do because it's so refreshing. You're like, yes, I got it done and it feels so good. So whatever that frog is for you in the day, the one or two big things that you might put off to the last, try doing those first. And it's amazing how your day and that time will compound and you're so much more productive and efficient because you've gotten those things that were just weighing on you off your shoulder. The next thing I help clients, some of them similar personality style like me, but this actually helps me. If you're ever swirling, and especially when you're at home during these times, the Pomodoro principle. It's wonderful. I love this. It's not new. It's been around forever. You set a timer, iPhone, whatever, your watch, and you set it for 20 minutes and you do one activity, focused activity. So I have a task to complete. I'm going to do 20 minutes. Then I can have a 5-minute break if I want. I encourage people, that goes back to the brain break, to take it. But if you're really focused at that point, then you set the timer again. And you often do these in 4 sets or until the job is complete. And then after 4 sets, you can take like a 15-minute break or so, whatever that is. But this is very helpful if you have a hard time getting started. Just tell yourself 20 minutes to get into the task, and then you get a little break. And then once you complete that first task, you can move on to the other. The whole goal with that is, though, focused effort, only on one thing. You don't answer the phone, you don't do email, you're absolutely focused on that task till it's done. Which brings us to the next thing. I understand if you're working in the medical profession or certain professions, you may not be able to get away with that. But I'm amazed by how many offices just have that instant messaging on all the time. And every time we're taking away from our task and we're or we're like, oh, I'll just answer this email. It's never just answering the email, is it? 30 minutes later, then we return to our task after we've answered 3 other emails, picked up a phone call. So when you can have that focused work, shut off the phone, shut off the instant message, at least for that time when you're wanting to get the focus work done. This will bring you just tremendous results, and you'll feel really accomplished. We talked about taking the intentional breaks. That just goes back and reinforces what we're talking about, whether you call it white space, brain breaks. This is part of productivity, that you take those. That's not being lazy, to take a break or to have those. We actually need those, and it is part of high performance. I would ask you right now, what is the one thing you're doing to refuel yourself during the day? Often I think we think that we can refuel ourselves, at the end of the week or the weekend, but I would encourage all of us, like, one thing at least during your day that you're doing to refuel yourself. The next thing of high performers, they're cultivating meaningful relationships. We become who we hang around. Um, this is kind of a good thing to assess our current relationships. Are you around people who maybe are sucking the life out of you, or more takers? Or are you around people who are more positive and givers and people who build you up? It's good to know, not that we're gonna eliminate those people, but maybe you're gonna limit time with the people who really drag you down. um, are you the smartest one in the bunch? I like how John Maxwell always says, if that's true, you need to get some more friends. If you're wanting to have high performance and to be challenged, you're going to want to have some people who are smarter than you in the group. You're going to want to have some people who challenge you. And I know we've always talked about this with our kids, but that 3 friend rule, look at your 3 closest friends, and we become really who they are, and they become like us. So I always say, hey, this isn't a thing to get rid of your friends. Now, we still have those friends and we're kind to them, but maybe we limit time more, and we're looking for healthy relationships that fuel us more and that are more in alignment. I know in this season, my husband and I, one of our focus things, just to be more productive, was taking time and doing some things, getting out there to exercise or be with other couples that fueled us, in this season, and being intentional about that, because it's easy just to get in that mode of working all the time. So what is that fuels you? Take time for those things in your relationship, and then really working to establish those, what I like to call your inner circle of people that are meaningful, that you trust, and working to build your influence. If we're high performers, we're looking to build our influence, and not just with those in our immediate circle, but those, in our business circles and those things. So really cultivating those and working on those. And as with anything, it takes intentionality. So what is one thing that I can do to continue to build, relationships in this area, or, in this area? For us right now in this season, our kids are home. Our one is just home till January. So I'm being very intentional to schedule time to do things, and not just working, and that being intentional to set things on our calendar. That's um, something we didn't necessarily go into, but it's really important to take a look at your calendar for this next year. And I would encourage you, as you look at these habits, that you schedule those on your calendar, that you schedule the time with your family that you want, that you schedule the time with your spouse or significant other, that you schedule the time that you're going to work out. Because you know what? If it's not on our calendar, it doesn't happen. This whole high performance is really about us being intentional. So we're feeling so good and fueled. We are more productive in all of these areas. Um, as we are getting to the end here, this is probably one that doesn't come as a surprise. High performers are going to have courage and grit. They understand when we're growing, it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's when we have the ability to, when we're feeling stretched, that's when we really have the greatest ability to grow, isn't it? And when we're a little uncomfortable or it doesn't feel good, that's when we're growing. We're not afraid. If you're a high performer, you're not afraid to fail forward, because you're going to learn from your failures. You're going to say, well, that didn't work out so good. I guess next time we're going to do A, B, and C. You're always assessing that and learning. And finally, persevering. I can't tell you how many people, like, you could probably find countless stories, like, they gave up or they quit right before they had the victory, or that the big deal or the big breakthrough. And so don't give up, keep persevering and maintaining that grit because it's important. And this one, high performers are going to practice gratitude. This kind of goes back to that, just being grateful, cultivating a mindset of giving, contentment, and gratitude really does help us to be more full of joy and happy. I'm going to share a little exercise. It's kind of fun if you have kids or grandkids, or just do it for yourself. I started this. Our kids are off, at school, but I thought this was fun when I saw this. Get a mason jar and just big mason jar, wide mouth jar, and then get a pack of colored index cards. And I just took the pack and cut them in half. So you'll have 200 little squares. And every day, or as often, it shouldn't be a chore, it should be fun, put it somewhere where it's maybe in your reading chair or in the kitchen where you're going to be. And then write one thing that was joyful about your day, one thing that you're grateful about. This is fun. I started this last year. So I thought, I'm going to do this with the kids and pull these out. They may not like it, but I thought it'd be fun. I don't know. I think they will like it. On Christmas Eve or New Year's, and pull out all those things, because I think sometimes we don't realize all the good things that happen to us, all the things that bring us joy, all the things that we can be grateful about. And you know what I love? If you've ever studied this out, it's so fascinating. Gratitude, it really does change everything. It lowers people's blood pressure. It helps your heart, it lowers stress, even helps people to sleep. So whether you do the jar, or you just journal, or you even just say, I am great right now. I'm grateful the sun is shining. Doesn't that make winter better? The sun is out. Whatever that is, getting in that habit, it is a practice of high performers. They're also high performers, generous with others because they prioritized their time, their needs, their money, and what's important. So then they can give freely to those things and those people that they love and believe in. And I think that's a whole reason why we do this. Why do we get clear on our values? Why do we have a goal for the year? Why do we, focus on our health? Really to live our best life and to create, this thing by being intentional. We can create a great life. And then life isn't just happening to us. I think too often we see people who they just let life happen to them, whatever somebody puts on their schedule, whatever, comes at them, and it's a constant state of chaos. But you and I have the ability to say, nope, this is what I want to create. And granted, sometimes we, have to do things that don't align. That's part of being good humans. But as a whole, those choices we do get to have, we can start to say yay or nay. And once again, like I said, we're doing that all, saying no maybe to the good, saving room for the things that are great and that really, cultivate this life that we want to live and a business we want to live. I love this quote. It says, it's not joy that makes us grateful. It's gratitude that makes us joyful. And I think that's just so right on. So high performance habits to integrate into the new year. High performance habits, they're going to allow you to focus on the right things, the things that are meaningful to you in this season of life. Helps you to be more productive because you're doing your priorities. You're going to do what's important to you. And then you have, like I think as Marsha was talking about, then you have the free time for more things that you want to do with family. High performance habit does incorporate rest and rejuvenation. And that's really maybe work for some people who are used to just work, more work. What is it that fuels you? You know what? If one of your values, is family and health, maybe you're going to incorporate some kind of rest and rejuvenation that incorporates the family. You can see how these all kind of intertwine. And when we're working on one, it really helps us get in alignment in the other areas too. Like this most of all. Don't make resolutions, create habits. I think we all know the research out there. Resolutions don't work. It sounds good. We see it all the time. I remember when we used to go to the gym in town, be so busy in January, I would say, oh, just wait, because February it'll all be gone. So, we know those things don't work. But creating some healthy habits, high performance habits that serve us well, they do work because they become part of our lifestyle. So I just want to encourage all of us to pick one thing And I guess I'd like to see you share that now. One thing that maybe got you excited, one thing that you're already doing, one thing that maybe was triggered for you today that you're going to start doing from today's information. If you just share that in the chat, I would love to just hear some of those things.
From Kathleen McConnell, I love the gratitude jar idea.
Oh, I could see you doing that with the grandkids. I love that.
I will plan to wake up earlier and to have a more peaceful morning routine.
Awesome. Any others?
Yes, get started faster in the morning. I agree with both of them too. When you said about the 30 minutes, how has that ever been a peaceful a peaceful time? I have never thought about that, but it is so true.
I know. You know. Well, I want to thank you for joining us. If anybody else wants to share, feel free to do that. I will stay a little after if anyone has questions. If you'd like the slides, feel free to let me put our information up there. Feel free to reach out. You can email us or contact Bailey and we'll make sure you get them. And if anyone would like, I just wanted to offer this. We did a fun little, I always like to do one fun project a year, and this was kind of fun. I did 52 prompts for the year. So if you would like those to come to your inbox, just shoot me an email and I will send those to you. It's one a week. And what it is, just an intentional word or focus point. I'll just give you an example. Like the first week, I think is, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. That'll be a surprise. So it's a word and you get it to focus on. And the whole point is hopefully by focusing on this word, whether it's just you or your family or even something fun to do with the kids, you're more intentional. And ultimately it brings you more joy and into more focus. So if you'd like to get that, it just comes, it comes automatically to your inbox once a week for 52 weeks. And it'll have a little exercise and then a journal prompt if you want to do that. So if you'd like that, I'd love to give that to you. I'm passionate about helping people live their best life and get excited. And I feel like that's one way we could share that with you for the year. So reach out to me at our email there and I'd be happy to send that. But thank you so much for having me today. And if anyone has questions, just let me know.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you so much.
And feel free to turn your camera and mic on both too, if you'd like to.
Oh, say that again.
I just said anybody can feel free to turn on their camera and mic too to ask any questions.
Yep. Or if they want to share their one thing, just to put it out there.
Yeah.
It's always good to speak it out.
We had a comment from Kathleen McConnell. Thank you for helping to start off the new year with a fresh mindset.
You bet. Thanks for coming, my friend. You know, when we think of some of these things too, what came to me, I made a few little notes over there. How we talked about how some of these line up. So, you know, maybe you're going out and you're doing a little workout or you're on the bike and then you're listening to a podcast, you know, so all of these things, when we start to make them habits, kind of start to align together. And it does, to me, it's like a synergy, you know, when you're getting in line in one area, it helps us to align with the other. And then it helps you. It's really great too when your family's on board. I know not always, you know, everybody's on the same page with that, but if you can get together where you're on that same page and you can help each other, like, wait, is that aligning with what we're doing in this season? You know, that's so helpful. Or the help of friends when you share the vision or what you want to do or your values in the season. That's really helpful. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
Back to what's important.
Marcia says, thank you for the excellent inspirational presentation.
Oh, thanks, Marcia.
Well, if we don't have any more questions or comments, we can finish up here. And thank you, Nikki, as always. You are the best. Thank you so much for
Thank you
presenting
so
for
much.
us
We
always. And
appreciate you so much at the chamber. You're all amazing. Thank you.
thank you. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day and happy holidays. This is our last presentation of the year.
Oh, thank you so
Yep.
much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.